We're live. It's episode 86, Lyrical Ones.
Ones.
Fluent, how you doing?
Doing great. It's episode 86. It's pretty cool. Year of the Tiger. Last time there was a year of the Tiger was 1986. This
At
year is
least the
the
one, at least the one we recall.
nah. That was the most recent one. What was the one before that? Or I mean, after that?
Let me
12
look. Let
years.
me look. Let me look.
98. That's right. 98.
I'm
Right.
like
98.
the one we
It's 12.
consider.
12. It's like I actually don't remember 1986, but I remembered that it was the year of the Tiger because it matters to me and my home. Uh, but yeah, 98. Ooh, 98 was a good year, but the better Timberlands was the 97 Timberlands. Um, even though, right, they make the same style, color, they may change the mold up a little bit, materials, but right, Timberlands, if you got a Timber pair of Timbs in the 90s, they was durable and they was
True.
solid. Um,
There was also Year
very
of the Tiger 2010. Just to throw that out there.
Oh yeah, I mean I guess it's every 12 years. So yeah, that count. So this is the fourth year of the Tiger that I've been around for. Check me out here. That's why we gotta co-host things because liable to say anything, liable, slanderous, might write anything down. Um, but I'm great for real. Um, it's a great day. World is crazy fast, moving crazy fast. Time is moving the same speed. Um, but when you think about how the mass of the planet is increasing, time is kind of moving faster on
Wasn't
Earth
ready for that. Was not ready for that.
because the the centrifugal force, right, as it increases. But you know, if it increases on the outside, maybe that slow things down. Increase on the inside, right, speed things up. So where is the mass going if it don't go to the center? And so then you think, oh well, if they drop in trash in the ocean, right, it's just going closer to the center of the earth and it's speeding things up. And you say, oh, well, that makes sense about global warming. All right there. A couple thousand tons of trash moving, falling straight to the center of the earth. Kaijus and big fish ain't happy. They're out here like, I can't live off this alone. Can't live off trash. Killing the whales. I eat whales. What's up with that? But I only eat every 100 years. So whales live for a long time. But you killing the whales. When I wake up to eat, my kaiju butt ain't got no food. So when that happened, guess what? Time ticking. Something about to pop off. I thought all these movies was just movies for y'all entertainment. They trying to tell y'all what's about to happen. You think, oh well, they're just frozen in ice. Well, when global warming hit, what you think gonna happen when ice start to break? They always try to play it off like, oh, they was looking for the kaijus. Man, they ain't looking for no kaijus. Kaijus go come looking for whales and they go find none and be like, let me see what's up here on this island. Let me see what's up over here. Who got the goodies? Because ain't enough whales out here for me. I'm gonna have to come up on land, evolve some legs or some wings, and get it going. So just be mindful of your needs to prevent the awakening of the kaiju in your life. Feel me? I'm just out here trying not to be a kaiju all the time. I like to code switch. Sometimes just make sure that I'm eating when I need to eat, not just when I want to eat. So my vest fit me. Right? So like right now I'm good. But sometimes I go full kaiju for a week or two and it's just all gains. You know, it's funny. It's funny the things we don't learn. Funny things we do learn. Funny the things that are taught to us, and funny the things that we gotta unlearn. Ain't it funny, Cindy, how you living? Episode 86. Date is 02/02/2022.
It's a lot of twos, 22 twos. I'm good. Uh, I just realized that I was born in the year of the fire rabbit, and
The
pretty
elements
soon I'm
matter.
gonna get to see the water rabbit. I'm like, this is a really, like, I'm learning. I'm learning every day. I'm learning. Appreciative of that. Thankful that I can do that. Beyond that, you highlight the kaiju situation, and
I did. I like the kaiju
you highlighted
situation.
the kaiju situation, like for real, like the polar ice caps melting, and they be like, oh, we got old diseases that's new again because we ain't seen them because they've been frozen. We letting them out. They coming back. They coming back, and we just hard. We still going through a situation right now globally. It's changed the world, and kaiju's, I feel like, would only advance that uh level of urgency to like figure it out even more. Cause you're right, like the fact that you said the mass of the planet is growing, I'm like, yo, what we gonna do? What what
Right?
what I'm gonna do,
What you gonna
right?
do?
Am I gonna have to have a counteracting force around me at all times that slows down time for me as it speeds up time for everyone else?
Yeah, man. That's called
Because,
willpower.
like, for real, like, I'm like, man, do I need to spin a stone slab around me at a rapid rate to just, what I'm saying? Like, this is I know what I signed up for. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm out here. My goal to accomplish what I'm pushing for change in a positive, thoughtful, sustainable manner for myself, for those around me. Learning a lot, really reflected on the concept of how your cup overrunneth, right? Like making sure you have enough to fill your cup, but more importantly, that it overflows from your cup so that it could go to others' cups. Really focusing on what is my cup, right? Because
That's
if my
good.
cup is too big, then I may be able to fill it, but it won't overrun, right? And I'm saying that for people to think about what does it mean when you live in your life, right? And I don't know how many people feel this, but when you up and you got money, you don't trip as much as when you spend it. But when you start getting to the when that amount starts to dwindle, starts to go down, you start to feel it when you know you got to give up that money. It becomes an emotional experience. Emotional when you got it, when you earned it, when you received it. Emotional when you lose it. Right? There's a certain level of happiness, satisfaction, a certain level of appreciation, certain level of resentment, certain level of
Mm.
resistance, certain level of sadness, certain level of frustration, stress. Everyone's coming from a different angle. For those of you, if the shoe fits, check your cup size. How big is your cup? Because you be thinking your cup is a bucket, and really it's more like a shot glass. And I'm saying that because I understand the level of generosity that I'm trying to produce, but more importantly, the level of necessity. Because now my necessity isn't dictated by the perception of others and what people tell me, it's really dictated by myself. So that's really where I've been at. I've been focusing on like the world around me and really paying attention to how do I serve others because they gonna tell me what it's worth to them. And so, I had a little show this past weekend, and I didn't really tell nobody. I put it on Instagram. I promoted it on Twitter a little bit, but I wasn't pushing for people to show up because I was struggling. I'm still, I'm dealing with all the little health ailments, right? Thankfully, ain't none of them the Panda Express level, Panera Bread level, but it's one of those things where, as much as it may be there, I ain't trying to get it, and luckily I don't got it, but I still am impacted by all these other things, and that's the thing is that like trying to overcome, trying to find out what works, trying to really make sure that I'm processing uh what I need because the panini is real, and I've seen how it's impacted a lot of people around me. I've seen how it's, some people been able to bounce back. Some people it's been tough. And I'm like, I'm getting hit with these little ailments. And I'm like, look,
Right.
I'm trying to be consistent and disciplined and routine and regular, but also be attentive to the needs of myself as they change. So, on one end it's checking the cup. On the other end, it's like checking myself. So yeah, that's where I'm at with it right now. That's where I'm at. Episode 86, Lyrical Ones.
Lyrical ones. I feel that. And you're right. The panini is sneaky. It's insidious. It's like it's everywhere. It's like some people sign up for it. Some people just like I'm gonna just roll the dice and see
For
see
real.
how it turn up. But I like the idea of acknowledging the container you're trying to fill, right? The vessel, the cup as you put it, and making sure you have enough. You are receiving enough to be overflowing, and I think that's a great like symbol for what it means to share and be in community, and like the difference between a world that says, right, get all you need, then get as much as you can, and says nothing about giving back. It's interesting because almost feel like philanthropic movements came out of greed. It's like, how can I keep more money? Let me give some away. It's like if I write off these taxes here and donate over here, then it allows me to keep some more. And it's really interesting that we could twist the act of giving that way and even incentivize the act of giving, right, in a manner that says, make sure you donate to this, right? Right, even lyrical opposition, right? It's 501c3, right? You can donate to the lyrical opposition and you can write off of your taxes. Basically, right? This is your workaround. So if you need a certain amount of money to write off on your taxes, right? You're saying it can come this way. And it is a blessing to give, right? It's a great thing to be able to give, an opportunity to give and share. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to be a license to hoard um, what you have been given or acquired, but it does allow the opportunity, allow for the opportunity to create a flow and even, pursue excess. And, you know, here we working from America, United States of America, and it we have a culture of excess out here. The tubs of protein is huge, the gallons of milk is huge, the The closets are huge. The dressers, the wardrobes, the refrigerators, the TVs are huge. The speakers are huge. The trucks are huge. The engines are huge. And it's a lot of excess. Some people, right, full sold out, right? Say I vibe with the excess. Let me get more. And I can relate. I was born here, so it's native to me. Um, and it's wild, just like being in the space to value that excess. And there are other places on the planet that do the opposite and abhor and dislike the idea of excess and clutter. Maybe not, maybe not clutter, but having enough to be cluttered, but really just having too much of something, is troublesome. And then, like when it comes to knowledge, right? It's like, can you ever have enough? But if you're not taking the time to share that knowledge, I really feel like it's a missed opportunity. In our culture in America, we're like, a missed opportunity means you missed a bag, right? You lost out on a bag. And a lot of think that's one reason why people don't have the motivation to give and share the lessons in their lives because they looking for the bag opportunity. And I wonder, when people can get to the point where they just say, "Oh, this is not a bag opportunity, but it is an opportunity to grow culture and community with a small exchange, with a small gesture of wisdom, vulnerability, good faith, and sharing that vulnerability, and then coming back with good faith. Like, I'm gonna trust you with some things that are sensitive to me, and I'm gonna trust, fully believing that the information will be taken care of, or my my embarrassment or the self that I wasn't necessarily ready for you to see is safe here in this exchange with you.
Now, this to me was triggered by what you said, but also what I've been listening to. Right, recently, what you had said was right when you eat to sustain versus when you eat to gain. Right, when you just all gains. I felt that because for me, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm finna tear some stuff up this weekend. But when I thought about it in terms of the concept of generosity, when it came to the concept of giving back, I had recently listened to this podcast called Living Lahain, right? And it's called Kosher Money. In one episode, I'm hearing from uh, I want to say a financial advisor. His name is Natalie Horowitz. And the things he said, I was like, I was looking at his perspective, right? I was looking at how he views money, right? He's handling seven figures for clients and up. And he's talking about taking ownership and responsibility of what does it mean to be mindful and really have a relationship with your money to where you understand what the necessity is and then saying that and then making sure everything that you say is a necessity drives towards a necessity, not letting others dictate it. Now he didn't say that explicitly, but that's what I took away because the things he was saying about like I have to send my kids to private school. Like that's just that's what I have to do. I can't live anywhere that I want to live. right? Like I have to live somewhere specific. And I'm like, that framework, that mindset, and then understanding what the relationship is to money and how that works. To then I listened to another episode and it was Danielle Lampin, or Danielle Lampin. And he has a book that is talking about like, you know, why are so many Jews rich, right? The statistic is just 3% of Americans are Jewish, yet 67 of the Forbes 400 are Jewish. And I was like, huh. And that concept of the cup that he brought up hit me, right? Really driving home, you have a responsibility to your family to make sure that your cup is filled, but you have a responsibility to the world to make sure that your cup overflows so that others can benefit from the overflow, right? To
Right.
give, to know that you're not only what you're doing is providing something for someone because they're gonna give you something for it, right? You're not taking anything away from anyone that they didn't want to part with, right? You develop a skill, you develop a practice, you develop a service, and they want to give you something for that. Now, what are you gonna do with it, right? You're gonna give it to your family, and then from there, how are you gonna give it back to those that are around you? How are you gonna give it back to the world? Because right, you now put yourself in position to be able to do that. And I was like really like thinking about that because yeah, it comes to my body. What am I eating? Right? I'm so going. I'm a listen to my body, right? Because at this time, I've seen people switch up their stance on health so rapidly. Because why? We're dealing with a global phenomenon. We're dealing with a global health issue, right? It's provoking people in many different ways. Where it's challenging some in ways they never imagined, and others they might be losing it, right?
Hmm.
And so when I know that, and I've said it many times on this podcast, on many episodes, money will be the difference in what you have access to and the accessibility that you have. But when I believe it was Danielle Lampin said, we can praise Mother Teresa for what she did, but you have to see how many people did she serve. Because when we look at Bill Gates and Windows 95, we know that he served billions, right? And I'm like, man, the way I even view service, I have to really expand upon what does that mean because as I continue to work in the community and I see my fellow like neighbors, people I grew up with be forced out, knowing that someone's gonna come and they're gonna be seen as more valuable than the ones that live here, right? Knowing that somebody's gonna move from across the country and they're gonna occupy an apartment, they're gonna occupy a room, they're gonna occupy a space, a house that was once lived in by someone before them, right? And they're going to have a whole new community of people who are reflective of that dynamic where yeah, we aren't from here, we're going to
Hmm.
learn and explore together, whereas the people who are from here and who know yeah, the name of that park wasn't always the name of that park and that lot over there wasn't always a lot, that those houses weren't houses, who lived
Hmm.
over there isn't who lives there now,
Hmm.
right? There's a complete separation. So for me, I recognize it, I acknowledge it, I see it, but I also know that there's things I can do to, you know, help, support, to sustain those or help those gain where they may not be able to or where they may not see it, right? But I gotta be willing to hear and listen. And there's things that I heard in these podcasts that it was tough pills to swallow because it was challenging what I was grown up to believe. It was challenging what I was taught by others. And it's like, yeah, I gotta listen to people who I don't agree with all the time
Hmm.
because I may be wrong. I may need to listen to them because they may provide me a perspective that I don't really have right now. That I'm trying to support those around me and accessing something more, but collectively, right? Like when I think of the digital market that we're creating, that's developing, that's evolving,
Yeah.
I see opportunity for advancement. I see opportunity for growth. I see opportunity for something new. I see opportunity for us to be able to get something that we didn't have before. And it's easy for people to scoff at it because they may have a level of security, right? Like I love how people fight for others. Like they'll raise these issues and concerns, but when it comes to time to like show up for those people that they've been fighting for, like in the physical or in the literal sense, right? It's always like we spent 7 hours here and we took a picture and now we're leaving. And then
Hmm.
I'm going to be performative in my support by announcing it every chance I get to post it online. When in reality, if you really cared, you would help communities of color who have been struggling with poverty for decades, right? To have access and education to financial accomplishments or success that they ain't never seen before because it's
Hmm.
possible, right? I'm being the one to learn and gain and understand and go through the trials of fire to then come back, right, to share the science because it's a science, right? There's an essence to it, right? There is a like imagine this, right? People will go and pray. And after that prayer, there's a sense of relief because they've been able to put whatever energy is out into the universe, right? And then we could go and see, right, what is the synonym or what is the similarity, right? Oh, we gonna have this school meditate every day in the morning. And what happens? Oh, we don't have as many fights as we did. Students are operating or communicating or engaging in ways that they ever have, right? So we went from something that people could say, oh, that's it, that's spiritual, that ain't got nothing to do with the real, to
Hmm.
then being data driven to having people experience it for themselves to see, oh, this is changing the community,
Right. This is what you
right?
was talking about.
Right? So when I'm thinking about that cup, right, it ain't just the money, it's everything, right? It's all parts, it's all encompassing. It's me raising my children to know about healthy relationships. It's me teaching the young one who's going to find themselves in a romantic situation of what is the best practices of healthy relationships, right? When you have friends, what does it look like to have a friend and what how do we define that as a family? How do we define that as a culture? How do we define that as a unit? Because I'm seeing the opposite. It's
Right.
not until something has happened that we want to try and course correct versus informing and establishing a baseline and a foundation to say, this is how we operate. This is the expectation. This is who I am. And as I raise you, this is what I'm giving you with intention, with purpose, right? I'm not going to pacify you with a phone. I'm not going to pacify you with a tablet. I'm not going to pacify you with a movie. We're going to have a conversation. I'm going to build a relationship with a level of intentionality to let you know, like, it wasn't just about me being a title, it was about who I am to you and who you are to me. That I took careful consideration into giving you access to information and experience, and you can leverage that for something new, right? It's the whole cup. It's everything in the cup. And yeah, when you said the kaiju, like yeah, it really magnified that because the kaiju, if it can't find a whale, it's gonna come for that popcorn, right? It's gonna be like, oh, what's these little things I can munch on? They got a little crunch to them. Oh, they ain't as big as a whale, but there's enough of them, there's enough, right?
Right. It's like, oh man, if I can't have a hearty meal, let me get these snacks,
For
and I'm never gonna get full off these snacks.
because if I can't find a supermarket, but I got the corner store, right? What I'm supposed to do?
Make sure you go to Roxy's so you can get a sandwich. It's like, gotta find a
Pastrami,
way.
Dutch crunch, cheddar cheese, toasted. Just if you go to Roxy's, that's my thing. Like I ain't had it in a minute, right? Because I've actually had them turn that into a salad. But I'm gonna say it again. You get the Dutch crunch, right? Get it toasted with pastrami and some cheddar cheese. That thing melted. Oh, Roxy's, it's the way to go.
Mm. Yeah, because like you talk about, right? Access. So like knowing what you want and what you need based on what you have is something that a lot of people are dealing with. What you have access to. So well, I don't have the money to have access to all that I want, and the amount of money that I have to access what I need may be limited. So I can be mindful of what I have to either share a burden or let someone share my burden. Sharing someone else's burden or let someone, share my burden. And sometimes things can only are only burdens because of their perception. And sometimes, right, there are really tough moments. But other times, right, it's just like your perspective of what's harsh or challenging, may not be what everyone else sees. And sometimes you may need more insight to see the moment and the opportunity in a larger focus, a larger picture.
Yeah, I mean, perspective, right? Like perspective, if not if we exist on a spectrum, right? There's a spectrum we exist on in multitudes, in levels, complexities, right? Not necessarily a hierarchy as much as it is. I mean, yeah, there's a hierarchy within the spectrum. There's so much entanglement. There's so much just like intricacies, right, to this existence that we share. And when you think of the accessibility, right, it's your placement on this existence. It's your placement within the space and the time. It's your awareness of what is needed of you to transverse that space. What time is it? Right? And it's like you or we, it's magnificent or it's horrific, depending on your placement on this spectrum, right? Because some are closer to necessity, some are closer to luxury, some are closer to happiness, some are closer to despair. It is not to say that the materials what drives it, but for me, I recognize it is the relationships that I hold valuable. It is remembering what it was like to have that warm embrace from an elder, whether it be my mother, whether it be my father, whether that be my grandma, whether that be my uncle or my auntie. It was that warm embrace, this sense of safety, the sense of validation of being seen, the sense of just safety, like love, of
Yeah.
compassion, of joy, of like whatever those sweet memories are that I remember and I reflect on that I felt like were so enriching and nourishing. I want to continue to grow that. I want to continue to have that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I choose to have meaningful relationships. Doesn't mean I've been perfect at it. Means I've learned how to like develop skills to add value to them, right? Because I have failed. I have had horrible relationships. I've been the toxic boyfriend. I've been in toxic relationships. I've had the toxic girlfriend. I've been in toxic friendships. I've had toxicity. I've had to learn and identify what do I need and what do I need to do for myself, right? What do I need from others and what do I need for me, right? How do I communicate? How do I need to be communicated to? How do I make sure that I'm defining those things and I'm setting those baselines, right? Because yeah, it's like the picture, depending on where you standing, right? Depending on how good your eyesight is, right? Depending on what the lighting is, depending on where the picture is at, right? How much of the detail can you appreciate and how much of the grandness can you appreciate, right? It's all determined by how either close you are, how far enough or you are away. And when I think of those little moments in time when I was a 5 year old or a 6 year old, and I remember what it was like to run through that house, whatever house that was it grandma's house? Was it my house? Was it my cousin's house? Was it the sleepover? Was it the pizza? Was it the movie we rented? What was those things where we had some embrace and we had some time where it gave us a sense of happiness, right? Because sometimes happiness ain't fun. Sometimes it's being still. Sometimes it's really reflecting and just enjoying what you did have, savoring whatever the memory of the taste was or the smell was, right? That
Right.
lotion, I remember who wore that, right?
Yeah.
That shampoo, I remember who used that, right? I remember what they meant to me, right? I remember that restaurant we used to go to, right? All those things bring joy. They bring a sense of elation. They bring a sense of reflection that is something that I'm like, okay, moving forward, I know I can have that if I'm
Mm.
willing to put in certain levels of work, if I'm willing to pay attention, if I'm willing to refine myself.
Yeah.
Because yeah,
Those are right. Those are the complexities, right? That you talk about, right? That you could navigate, those different forms of energy, right? That change and that morph, those complexities like mean a lot when it comes to interacting with people. And I think the awareness of how complex someone's life can be, like you don't really get that until you dive deep into what's going on, even with family members. Just because you grow coming from the same place don't mean you having the same experiences, right? And the more people you have around you, like some people don't have, right, the complexity of previous generations in their life, right? Some people, right, that's a complexity, right, that's a norm. Then for others, right, it's a complexity that interaction of generations is missing, right? And so that's a complexity that when you share with someone, you say, okay, well, this is something that's always been a part of my life, right? Well, they may share, right, this is a complexity that's always been a part of my life, but right, one looks like adopted parents, the other looks like grandparents who raised you. Another complexity may look like, right, having foster parents, you know or multiple sets of foster parents. And though it's complex, the more complexities you have to your life allows you to understand, I think, more of what other people are experiencing. You say, well, my life wasn't like that, or my pain wasn't like that, but I do have, this experience that reminds me, or that I can support if someone is struggling. And because of the complexities you may have in your own life, right, it allows others then to see you in a different light if you're willing to share those complexities, within your life.
I mean, even that, right, where you had brought up that key point of we could both live in the same house and have two different complete experiences, right? We could go to the same school and have totally different like lives. All right, we share the same space in class. We may be best friends. We may operate in certain ways, have certain beliefs that are the same, but when we go home, it's completely different, right? There are people who are going to go through extreme amounts of adversity, and for whatever an amount of reasons that are not to be minimized, they will be resilient. And there's going to be people who may be given and afforded so much that as soon as a slight stressor comes, they may not be able to handle it. They may fall apart under pressure. It's
Oh,
not a judgment on either or. It's not to say one is good
that's
or
right.
one is bad. It is to say that these are realities that people are facing. That you may have had enough, right? You could be super resilient, and you could have had everything go wrong, and you still overcome, and you achieve, and you persevere, and you may get to a point where you're like, I'm done, right? Or you may be super successful and lose it all and be like, I can't take it, right? You
Right.
could be on the other end of this perspective and be like, you know what? I'm gonna push again. I'm gonna keep going, right? It's not to say what is wrong, but it is to say that if you have the ability, if you have the chance to seek out, right, to seek out some sense of guidance, to seek out a relationship, to seek out to be willing to not just explore something new, but to be willing to learn, to be willing to really listen, to hear, because you may get something else that will deviate from what you know. It may grow you or what you have in front of you to a degree that may be exactly what it is that you need beyond the moment. And I say that because I do know people who I marvel at them, and I revere them because I know what they've gone through and I know what they've overcome.
Right.
And I know there's people who I love and I appreciate and I wish like they just put forth that extra amount of effort for themselves, right? Whether it's my direct encouragement or me meditating and praying on them,
Right.
right? I'm going I'm going to want the best for you, even if you don't want it for yourself, right? Even if I can't stand you, even if I can't have you in my life,
Right.
I'm still going to think about you. I'm still going to wish or pray or hope or have faith that it's going to be better than what it was, that it'll continue to be great, that it'll continue to be good. Because as much as I want that for you, I know I'm going to do everything I can for me. Because I
Hmm.
know I can't do for you, right? I know I can't make happen for you, right? I could do your resume. I can't get you the job. I can make it nice. I can make it shiny. We could practice, but it's gonna take your effort, your energy to, unless I'm in that position for that position you looking for, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's bringing it back to that cup, right? Bringing it back to that concept of I gotta fill it up, right? I gotta love, I gotta pour into me so I
Yeah.
can pour into others, right?
Right.
As you said often, right? The closest you get to God is the person in front of you, right? But at the same time, it's what exists within yourself, right? And I'm really clear and intentional on what that looks like for everybody because I do think that like you can look at the magnificent stars around you and be like, oh my goodness, this is far beyond my ability to understand.
Hmm.
Or you could realize you are comprised of whatever that is. That you are sharing this time with that you are a part of it. You are with it. You're not separate. You're not isolated from it. As your feet are on the ground, or you breathe the air around you, or you are helped with the oxygen tank that somebody produced and was able to put into the tank to give to you. That's all a part of the same thing. It's all one, right? I was looking at in Ghana how they got the burner boys, right? And they're sitting there trying to strip out the plastic from the wires to
Hmm.
get the copper so they could resell it, right? They trying to make that money. And
Yeah.
the health issues and the life expectancy is so low. But these young men who are in their 20s, their early 30s, they got families, right? They trying to take care of their mothers, their sisters, their wives, whoever the case may be. They're
Yeah.
doing everything they can to make sure they get that money at the end of the day to send it back where it needs to go, right?
Hmm.
They sitting there
Yeah.
living in an environment where they got to pay to use the shower, the communal shower, right? You got to pay to have time to go into the shower, right? You aren't guaranteed much of anything, right? You got to put it together and make it happen. And I'm looking and they're talking about the hierarchy and how, they got to go to somebody else who's up the food chain, who makes more money, right? And I'm like, "Dang, like this is wild. This is crazy." But I'm in this world with them. I'm here with them in this time,
Yeah.
right? I'm not. I can't escape it, right? As much as I may look at the 49ers lose in the game, I can't escape the fact that once the game is over, I still share this time and space with everyone around me, right? I've made a life of service to those, and I continue to serve those, right? My music is serving, I'm serving souls, I'm serving
Nice,
hearts.
nice.
But more importantly, right, I'm also serving myself because it's not for nothing. I'm aware, I'm looking, I'm thinking, and I really, I just as you think about that cup, right? The cup exists on the same planet. The cup exists in the same time and space. And it's just one of those things that I want people to really take into consideration. What is your cup? What's the size of your cup? Because it is a thing that we oftentimes we think our cup is grand, and it don't
Hmm.
necessarily have to be, right? It could be grand in our appreciation of just having a cup.
Yeah,
How full?
it could be grand and right detailed, right, and have strict parameters and not be large in size or like it's need to be filled. And I think, well, I'll say this, like defining what it means for your cup or container to be filled is important. And I know in the last 4, 3, 4 years, that was something that was important to me, that I found like the units to pour back in myself. Like, what were the things? What did it look like? And I'm at a space now where though I may have decided on what those things were at one point in my life, I need to decide again. What's what are the priorities? What rejuvenates me? What brings, you know, me energy? But also, what are the things that I define as a part of my identity that make me me? Right? It's like I know that over here I got acrylic art, I got acrylic paint, just like ready to go. And that's a part of who I am, right? I'm I'm a hybrid of a hybrid of a hybrid of a hybrid. Um, I rock with all different types of art, and I love to create. And I go through seasons of creation and consumption, through different mediums. And like sometimes I need different language or different. It's not even different language. Sometimes I'm right, because like sometimes, right, they say painting, watching this anime, and they like painting is like the art, like with no language, right? It's like to convey, right, to convey to you what I'm feeling or what I want to say in a piece of art. I have to then create with my most truest self, and right, that creation looks different for me all the time, and I have to acknowledge that my truest self, right, is like vibrant, radiant, and malleable, that it is changing. And it's okay that it's changing. But more than anything, how can I articulate the volatility or the evolution or the change that's happening right in real time and say, right, it's okay if you don't recognize me from yesterday. It's okay if you don't recognize me from 5 minutes ago. I am not here to be recognized, right? But I am, right? But it is my responsibility to communicate where I am right now and who I am right now, right? And so if you choose to keep people around you, right, and keep them in your life, then you have to be willing to communicate, right, who you are, your truest self when they're around. And sometimes when they're not around, depending on the understanding of the bond that you have. But communicating your more truest self in your truest form, from one day to the next allows for you to be accepted. And it allows for you to express who you are and to be cared for and loved because you have been vulnerable in communicating exactly who you are. But if you show up and you just like, I ain't gonna tell people what I'm really feeling. I ain't gonna say that. They may think I'm crazy. They may think I'm stupid. They may think I'm rude. Now I ain't gonna say that. I'm not gonna paint it this color because people don't like this color. Nah, I'm gonna give them what they want to see, not what I'm really feeling. I'm gonna let them. I'm gonna let them hear what they. I'm gonna play what they want to hear, not what I'm really feeling like. And I think I lived in that space for a while, and I think the best thing that could have happened to me is that I have to one choose who I want to be, acknowledge that, and say, all right, this is the way I want to show up in the world, and it's important for me. But also, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks or feels when it comes to me being my truest self. And if nothing else, that's what it means to just have a a few buttons out and show your belly a little bit. You just gotta have it open, even if it's snowing outside and you didn't even know people taking pictures. Just go ahead and have it out one time because that's who you are today.
The hardest thing, right? The hardest thing. The
Being
hardest
yourself.
thing about it is that vulnerability component, right?
Hmm.
But even more importantly, what you said was you got to choose to be you. Like that's a hard quote, but it can be very overwhelming and hard for people to do. But I think that's where it's at. You have to choose to be you. You have to choose to be you. You got to. That's it. You got to choose to be you. And I think that's where it's at. Choose to be you.
Yeah,
Alflu, any final thoughts, final words for the people on episode 86 of the Lyrical Ones podcast?
I really enjoy the transition from day to night and night to morning and morning to day. I really enjoy those phases and transitions. It reminds me to acknowledge, accept, receive, and let go. Um, and if I wake up, I get to do it again. And I've said this before, but waking up is my favorite thing to do. Waking up is a vibe to me because if I wake up, it's on. It allows everything else to happen. Everything that's beautiful in my life is only I've only experienced it because I woke up. And I'm in such gratitude for that. Like even my mistakes, my lessons, like the ups and downs, like saying the wrong thing, talking at the wrong time, being too loud, like all of that is great to do and experience for me. And I just love the beginning of it so much that I can't believe I got to do it again. So uh, I wish I could give you this feeling.
Man, episode 86. Appreciate waking up because we all not guaranteed another one. So if you get one, cherish it because you don't know. And with that,
One, 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 one.